to episode 3 of the Escape to the Light development blog. We're going to look at cover art, character graphics, background, some more graphics with AI and stuff. So that should be fun. Thanks for joining me. So I use a kind of variety of techniques to make stuff. Being creative, it's good to be flexible. In this case, like, we made something out of junk from around the house. Actually, old sushi bottles and chopsticks, now consigned to sort of live out the rest of its days at the top of this shelf in my office, unless I suddenly decide to record some more footage for Star Mine, in which it featured. This is a sketch. Sometimes we do things with ink and pencil and various things, or just digitally. This is a possible character for Escape to the Light, called Webster. More of him later, or her. Blender is another option that I like to play with. Great package, free. I'd recommend checking it out. That was for 3D Turbo Boost. There's a car actually in there. It does have some colour in the game, but not here. Not using that right now. This non-gender specific character was for a game called Amazing. Rather than rotoscoping or trying to draw the animation, I grabbed some frames using FFmpeg. I'll put a link in the description to that video. Pixabay is a great resource for some free stuff. I didn't have much time when making Amazing, so I needed to have some graphics for it, and that was the source. However, it was the wrong colour, the wrong size, kind of the wrong shape. So I grabbed some frames to make an animation loop with FFmpeg. Then I grabbed a tool called Image Batch, which is like a free thing that I downloaded some years ago. Can't remember where from though. Anyway, pretty basic probe. Here it is. You can crop, resize, rotate, convert. And I did at least 2 or 3 of those. I think it was cropping the edges off and then making them smaller. Before I then basically recolored each one with, like, cyan and green or something or other, making it look more solid and more usable for this video game that I was working on. I think that game took about 7 or 8 weeks to make, and I released it up at Bradford, Wakefield. The Wakefield show, which is currently in Bradford because the hotel we use in Wakefield isn't available. This is the Risco West Wakefield show, which is great fun. I'd recommend checking it out if you're into retro cool stuff. And here is the character. This is what it looks like. Bit of cleanup not being done on this sequence, but it looks kind of more usable. I was picturing like how you used to have these pretty basic stickmen running along. I wanted to make something a bit more high res that looked a bit like that. This is a 2.5D maze, so you see it kind of from the side and underneath. Anyway, back to Escape to the Light. This is the cover art, the intro story section of the video. My daughter, who's studying games and animation next year, is into anime and draws anime characters, so I thought she could draw me an anime-like cover art character. I try and incorporate aspects of that into the art style. This drawing was in pencil, and when you scan pencil, it looks like this, mostly invisible. Now this tool is PaintShop Pro 8, circa 2003, and like the 8-bit guy and others, I've been using it for about 20 years, during which time I've learned how to use it. Specifically here, in this case, making something darker. Now it so turns out that Disney years ago, when they used to do hand-drawn animations, started using Xerox machines to avoid people having to trace over the top and make things have black lines. This is the same idea which I've done here, pencil to black lines. And also, in line with traditional animation, I make it transparent so that I can paint behind it. I'm using a limited colour palette that I've chosen so I can try and make things consistent in the game, which I haven't done yet. there are inconsistencies, but I intend to make it consistent. That's the main thing. So I will. It's a work in progress. So anyway, I'm going behind the black lines with I'm using my cheap drawing tablet here, by the way. My cheap Wacom drawing tablet, which I really like. Cost about £35. I think it's the Wacom 1. It's got a red back to it. Nice and cheap. Anyway, it's great because I can scribble to my heart's content, as I'm going to do so now. Actually, I was colouring this for about 45 minutes, but I'm not going to subject you to that. Although, personally, I think slow videos and slow TV, like The Reassembler by James May, is quite fun. So I'll probably shut up at some points and be quiet, so you can just watch me gently scribbling. Actually, I'll do that now. Give you some peace and quiet. I will say though, just note, it is going behind the black lines. You couldn't just use a fill here, because it would flow everywhere and make a bit of an awful mess. There is nothing wrong with the audio. I've just stopped talking, by the way, deliberately. Well, I think that's mostly there. A bit of clean up to do. There are some speckles of black pencil or dust or something on here. I need to go and erase them. I only spotted that when I started to process it and zoomed in later and saw this scattered mess of dots. Anyway, coming back to this thing here, this is the tape recorder, which has the special effects, sound effects recording. Some people thought it might be for radio. I wasn't sure if it was for film or TV, which I found in a charity shop. This is my sort of 1960 something Philips tape recorder. Used to be very common in schools, I think, in the early 60s. So all I'm doing here is tracing it by hand with a pen that's too thick, I think, initially. So I have to make that thinner. I haven't spotted as usual. Not paying attention to what I'm doing. I could have maybe got an algorithm to do this, but that would probably take as long as just doing it, given the fact it's not got great contrast on the image. It's just easier to sometimes just go and do things. So once I've traced it, what I do is I get rid of the image behind, which is on a different layer. Just make that kind of zero transparency, if I remember right. There we go. And we're left with a sort of, well, bit of tracing paper, which I can fill in the gaps on, and similar to the last image, just paint behind it, painting behind the lines. There's still clean up, shading and various other things to do, but it's progress. I'm probably going to have to make the little wheels or reels on the top there turn, which shouldn't be too hard. I can probably just rotate them rather than tracing over frames and doing old school rotoscoping. But anyway, whatever way I do it, I will actually do that because it will look much better. And that's it for that part. On to characters now, I think. Yes. So on the left hand side there's a sort of fly robot that I conceived of, my daughter redrew much better. I processed it in the kind of the one with the grey head to kind of make it mirrored. I felt it maybe should be symmetrical. And I did a few other bits to it, a bit of cleanup. The character in the middle is our sort of hero character. You may notice that I'm drawing rather faster than normal here. This is because I'm running the video at 2 times speed, because it was taking forever to edit this into some usable form. I thought I'd just speed it up instead. Saves me editing things, which takes forever. That one in the middle is traced over the concept art, but it still looks a bit scrappy, so I'm trying to draw with the drawing tablet by eye something that I can maybe put in the game. I can then animate parts of it. I plan to put shading on there, maybe to reflect some of the title graphics stuff that my daughter did into it. Maybe some touches just to shape it into the right kind of form. But I'm not there yet. I'm sort of erasing and drawing and erasing and drawing it. I spent about 45 minutes, I think, on this. I kind of got somewhere. But that's the way it goes. You kind of got to keep working at it. Sometimes it works first time, but most of the time, at least for me, it takes lots of goes. And kind of metaphorically screwing up pieces of paper, throwing them over my shoulder into the bin, and missing, and then drawing another one. Every now and again things sort of work first time, but that's not normal, at least not for me. So I'm drawing a place for his hand to hold things and matching up the colours, kind of making progress. Again, I'll kind of be quiet because I have nothing else to say for a bit. This is Webster again. Latest version, there are 3 mouth positions on the drawing tablet. Looks a bit cleaner and tidier. Yeah, I'm going to have to try and sort out some of the shading and styling a bit, so it doesn't look like weird, out of place, like it belongs to a different game. Oh, this guy's supposed to help you, apparently. I'm not sure it will survive. Just a head with sunglasses on and a bit of light around it. So I don't know, maybe. But you know, you brainstorm, you try stuff out, and if it works, you keep it. And people say, "What are you doing?" You stop doing it, unless they're wrong. Then, well, this is the grid. Which is that's why bad. That was it. Antagonist. That's it. I'm reworking that. So kind of, I don't know. Wasn't happy with how it looked. I've got some nice ideas about it. Background graphics now. I wanted the background graphics not to be too intrusive. This was the concept with the archways. I plan to have rooms but variable size, so it's a mixture of scrolling and doorways. That's like a tree done with an airbrush. The archways are built out of bricks that I drew. An older game called Legends of Magic, I didn't bother building things with my bricks. I made piles of rubble and said it was just ruins of the island, but the game was set on this Legends of Magic game, which made my daughter laugh because it didn't look very finished. In this case, I've drawn a brick with an airbrush and a drawing tablet, and I've assembled it into structures, which I've got various examples of here. And sort of, it looks alright, I think. Probably works as a theme to sort of say it's basically mostly a void of shadows with some structure in it. I need obviously like quite a few graphics and might combine them together. Keying it, so I've got common graphic elements I use to build the areas. Trying to sketch another tree here with the airbrush for variety. I suppose I've got the image on the left to try and get me to think of this whole overall style, or I just forgot to close it, I'm not sure. Anyway, focus on the tree, kind of ignore the thing on the left. I'm trying to split the branches up like the trees do when they grow. Each branch splits into another branch, and I think I added a bit of different colour to it, and then sort of smooth it out. I really like this tool because it's kind of, I don't know, either I'm used to it or it just suits how I work. So a bit of Gaussian blur here, just to smooth it out, give it a softer look. I think I was possibly I was saving the image. That's right, I always save different versions of everything. It's usually a bit chaotic, but I have lots of different things to choose from, which is always good. Over to RISC-OS now. This is the original ARM operating system, freely available for the Raspberry Pi. The Windows graphics are just ready to go, but the RISC-OS graphics need to be converted to the native format. RISC-OS applications are directories. So I just take a donor game. That's the car game that I made recently. Rename it. Trying to think of a name. Don't think I thought of a good name for the application. So I think I just called it Escape, which is probably not a very good name. Anyway, it doesn't matter. RISC-OS applications start with an exclamation mark, typically. But if I hold Shift down and double click, then, hopefully, I can go inside it and there's the code and there's the graphics. And that's the graphics file. It's all nice and open, so I can just drag images in. Assuming I don't miss anyway when I'm dragging things about. RISC-OS is a very drag and drop style thing, so I got those images out of Blender and created them in there. And some of the other bits and bobs have gone from various places. A few bits have been drawn, other bits have been taken from PD sources and other games that I've done. I'm keeping a couple of bits and delete the rest. Again, I may not end up using much more than the logo there, but I don't know. It's kind of like you just make some progress. This might slightly chaotic thumb drive, looking at here. Try and find where I put the graphics. And then I have to convert them from bitmap to RISC-OS sprite format, which you don't do with that application. I missed, basically. It's my bad there, and I'll just drag a bit further across. That's Webster apparently. I'll drop that in. Because I'm running on some pretty old hardware sometimes, I support back to early Raspberry Pis and some of the older dev boards. I'm doing the RISC-OS version in 256 colour for now, although the Pi 400 would probably take 16 million. And I think I show dragging in the title graphic, which I then realised was huge. Far too high res, basically just enormous. So I realised I probably would need to make it smaller. So I didn't use that. Some cleanup required on those images. The tape recorder now it's blown up, looks quite tatty. So I will have to clean it up, but at least initially I'll put it in here. Gives me something to work with. That's ready for later. I do like programming on RISC-OS. It's great fun. No Windows update. Oh, AI. Yeah, so I'm using AI for inspiration mostly. Might be to generate busy scenes. This is a generated image, so I did a bit of processing on it just to make the lines more visible. That's the text I used to generate it. You can see on screen now. I didn't like it, so I turned it upside down to see if it looked any better. And then I ran it through a kaleidoscope filter on the paint package. I thought I could zoom into that like you do in Tron. So that'd be the way in. This could be the way out. Maybe. I think I asked for, a door to light or something. This is the apartment in which you find this tape recorder your uncle left to you. It's very untidy, full of old junk. Tried using an AI voice as well, but that didn't work out so well, as you will hear in a moment.
My uncle passed away. His apartment was so untidy. I was always interested in weird old stuff. Antiques.
So, as you can hear, that was very robotic, like a bad actor who didn't know what they were talking about. He doesn't know what it's talking about, so it has no expression. So I thought I'd have a go, use some sort of voice techniques and some processing and see what I could create without using AI.
My uncle passed away. His apartment was so untidy. I was always interested in weird old stuff, antiques. There was this weird old machine that played what looked like reels of ribbon. I think it was called a tape recorder. On it was a sound I'd never heard before. It was so strange that somehow, when I started playing it, I felt myself being drawn inside the machine, somewhere dark, somewhere strange. I feel ashamed to admit it, but I cried out for help. A voice answered,
"Welcome to the grid. You have been absorbed."
He'd obviously never met me. I reached inside my pocket and took out my flashlight. There was a scream, and I fell backwards.
Well, there you are, into the grid. So I guess maybe that'll do for this episode. Next one, I'm doing the coding and development on both RISC-OS Windows Linux versions in parallel. So that'll be episode 4. Hope to see you there. Any thoughts, please let me know. Comments, or just message me if you think this is going the right way or not. Anyway, please like and subscribe, and thanks for listening. Thanks. Bye.